there's one team away from capturing their third Super Bowl championship in a row for the first time in NFL history. There's also another team about to capture potentially their second Super Bowl championship in 4 tries in their franchise history. Eagles and Chiefs meet once again for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans this time around. I think many of those are excited to watch this game because it's two of the most explosive teams in football going at it with one another. Now, of course, if you're not a fan of these teams, and if you're, a Cowboys fan, a Giants fan, a Commanders fan, of course, or if you're from the AFC West, you don't represent the Chiefs. You're probably very irate when it comes to this championship matchup. But as the regular fan, this could be something special to watch come Super Bowl Sunday. But this isn't a Super Bowl preview. This is, of course, it's going to be an AFC and NFC championship recap, right? Conference championship recap. Now, before I get into that, of course, please make sure you follow me on this channel, right? Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Comment down below your thoughts on the NFC and AFC conference championship games. Also, follow me on all the platforms. Chill Takes on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, of course, right? We have TikTok for the next 80 days or so, right? So they say. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, man, and also if you're listening to on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I thank y'all so much for tapping in. Make sure you follow the show and rate it 5 stars on wherever you can rate it the show at. So I want to apologize for how my voice and my appearance may look, right? I know I look a little bummy. I haven't had a cut in a while, nor I've got my hair done. I'm getting it done tomorrow, but my voice, I've been sick this past week, right? I haven't been able to get out my my previews for conference championship weekend, right? Because I was down bad, man. So, forgive me for my voice. If I cough, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to mute the mic. But I'm excited to talk about these games, right? One more than the other, of course, but I feel as if I haven't been giving a legitimate recap on these Eagles games because these things are happening. Like it's not surprising, not much to talk about. But with respect to the Eagles getting back to the Super Bowl, right, we will talk about it. But let's talk about the game that just ended, right? This is currently 11:35 Sunday night, right? So when you hear this podcast, of course, it'll be Monday morning. But I'm going to go with the game first that I can easily recap because it just finished, right? The Chiefs take down the Bills once again. Josh Allen is now 0-4 to Patrick Mahomes in the postseason when it matters most. Yeah, he has a 3-1 record in the regular season, but when it comes down to the postseason, this man cannot get past the big dog in the Midwest, right? Kansas City's Midwest, right? Yeah. So shout out to the Chiefs, man, for getting it done. As for the Bills, man, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Bills' point of view for a second, right? Because I've asked a question on my recent TikTok reels and shorts video. I was asking, like, if you're a Bills fan, where do you go from here, right? As a Bills fan, where do you go? Because the Bills have had the roster of elite status to get them to a championship game, and now they have a roster of, there's no selfish players, right? There's all cohesive, complementary continuity on the side of the football, right? We just have Josh Allen and a bunch of guys that can just get the job done. And you still fall short, right? I thought this Bills team played well enough to win. I thought they played good enough to win, right? They outgained the Chiefs in total yards, rushing yards. I think they had more fourth down conversions. They had the same amount of third down conversions. Same amount of sacks, less turnovers, more time of possession, so on and so forth, right? But they still did not get the job done. I think a few things stick out to me. I thought Josh Allen played good enough to win as well, right? But in these games, outside of that crazy 13-second comeback that the Chiefs had a few years back, I want to say 2021, I want to say, or 2020, whenever that year was. I felt as if in key moments in the game, I'm not saying Mahomes did it either today, but I felt as when Josh Allen needed to, he did not outduel Patrick Mahomes when it came down to it, right? I think he played just as good as Mahomes, but in the few possessions where they needed Josh Allen to be better, be elite, be a top quarterback, top 3 quarterback, be better than Mahomes, than some may say, he didn't do that, right? And it wasn't because he played bad. It wasn't because he didn't make the right throws. He just wasn't able to do enough, right? I felt as if the game came down, of course, to that last Bills possession. I wasn't a fan of the late play calls by Joe Brady. The whole last possession just felt conservative, trying to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, and rightfully so, right? But I felt as if there was no type of potential kill shot in the Bills' last few offensive possessions, more so the very last one, right? Because at one point during this game, it was 22-21, and the Bills had a really big chance, a great chance to take full advantage of this game and put the nail in the coffin for the Chiefs. And unfortunately, right, they were unable to because they couldn't convert a fourth down in inches where many are going to say the refs, they came through once again. But if you look at that play, bro, that in my opinion, the ball was not undisputably a first down. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, I didn't think that was a first down sneak by Josh Allen at all, right? But regardless, though, right? I mean, that last possession for the Bills offense, I thought Joe Brady was not his best. And I'll get onto the coaching in a second on why the Bills lost as well. But the 3rd and 10 bubble screen that, Josh Allen may have checked out of or whatever the play call may have been, the bubble screen to Amari Cooper was disgusting. Right. First of all, why is the bubble screen going to a 31, 32-year-old Amari Cooper when you have Khalil Shakir, who leads the league in yak? All right, if I'm not mistaken, he's second behind Jamar Chase. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was bad scheme, bad personnel choice. All right, so we go 4th and 5, and people are saying they're going to try to blame Josh Allen for this, and I can't get with that because you call an orbit swing pass for an orbit swing pass play that has Khalil Shakir swinging out the backfield, of course, with yardage to gain, but you also have Dalton Kincaid running a crosser, deep, I would say like a medium to deep crosser for a first down and more, right? 4th and 5. And of course, Spags, per usual, the best defensive mind in football, dials up the absolute perfect blitz call. And of course, the Bills unable to pick it up. Josh Allen is forced to scramble and throw the ball up for grabs. Dalton Kincaid still could have came down with it, but unfortunately, he was unable to. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, Josh could have checked it down or looked for the swing pass." That wasn't the read, man. I mean, this is live action, bullets are flying. Like that was obviously not the read. That was a read that there's no pressure. You know what I'm saying? His hot route was the Dalton Kincaid pass, and he got it there. Dalton just dropped it. But, outside of that, man, I thought Josh played, like I said, he played good enough to win. He just didn't, outdo Mahomes in the key moments, right? He finished 237 yards, 22 for 34, 2 touchdowns. James Cook had a big day. I thought James Cook played really well, right? I felt as if his touchdown runs, each and every one of them were gained. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they were hard to get, right? That 4th and 3 call at the goal line or whatever it was at the 3-yard line, that little pitch play they had, he had to earn that. He had to stretch out for it. And it was a beautiful play by him. But that just goes to show how willing the Chiefs defense was in defining moments to getting stops. And the Bills had to work for everything. Mac Hollins, 73 yards receiving. Now, shout out to Mac Hollins for being that reliable guy this year, being just a good depth piece, willing blocker, making plays when needed to. But there's no way, in my opinion, the Bills can be legitimately competing for a championship or getting to a championship with Mac Hollins being your leading receiver for 73 yards and a touchdown. That's not going to get you to where you need to be, in my opinion. Nor is it going to have DeMar Hamlin or Taylor Rapp or whoever your safety play is. Or, of course, you didn't have Christian Benford, unfortunately, because he got down with a concussion. You have Kyrie Elam stepped in. And, it's not the Bills' fault because Kyrie Elam is a former first-round pick. He should definitely be, a starter, but he's not, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? And, I thought the Bills weren't able to create a legitimate pressure to sack Mahomes multiple times, right? They got 2 sacks on him, but you need at least like 3, 4, 5, you know what I'm saying, or more to really have this Chiefs offense in your grips. As for the Chiefs, Mahomes played good. He 18 for 26, 245, 1 touchdown. Kareem Hunt ran the ball really effectively. Xavier Worthy, ironically enough, the guy that you guys passed up on for draft picks, of course, and also Keon Coleman, who finished with like 12 yards this game. But Xavier Worthy, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. I think Xavier Worthy would have been very vital in this game if he was a Buffalo Bill. You know what I'm saying? But, I don't know, man. The Bills, and we'll talk about the roster, what needs to happen going forward. after this devastating loss again. But, as of right now, the Chiefs just owned them, right? I mean, I thought Andy Reid and Spags came in with a better game plan. They managed the game a lot better. They had their guys ready from start to finish. I thought McDermott called a decent game. He wasn't conservative. He was aggressive at times. Just his team just couldn't get the pushes when needed to. But I thought Joe Brady was a bit lackadaisical at times, and also Bobby Batch, their defensive coordinator, of course. I mean, it's McDermott's defense, but you have Bobby being the other eyes and ears for you. But overall, I just thought this Bills coaching staff didn't come into this game as prepared as the Chiefs were. And as for Kansas City, I mean, it could have been some conversations to be had, right, about this Chiefs team, especially offensively, how we are still wondering, like, this Chiefs offense isn't what we're accustomed to, but they're just getting the job done, man, right? I think the biggest thing is, though, they have the better quarterback, of course. They have the better they have the better coach, right? Even if he's not the best at play calls right now because of the limited skill personnel he has offensively at times. But I just feel as if in key moments, he's just a lot more surgical than the others out there. He's been there before. He knows what it takes, as you can see. And also, he has the best defensive play call in the game by far. And it damn near could be a cheat code at this point, right? You know what I'm saying? And I think Steve Spags, and he'll never probably move on from this job unless he retires, because, I mean, no one's going to hire him because of his failed 10 years at other destinations as the head coach. But him being a DC is just as unruly. You know what I'm saying? It's unfair. It's the perfect match, right? You have a defensive mastermind that just knows how to get the best out of his players. And, of course, they're getting healthier defensively. You brought back in Watts in the corner to play opposite side with Trent McDuffie. You have Justin Reed. You have George Karlaftis, who's emerging as one of the best edge rushers in football, a young one at that. Chris Jones, of course, playing magnificent football. Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel. I mean, they have so many good guys that just know that scheme, and they have elite players to, just to come through when needed. So, shout out to the Chiefs for getting back to where, they can accomplish 3 in a row. Now, before I get into the next game, I want to talk about the Bills and, what direction they can go in. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll talk about the Chiefs later and, what they should do to continue to be on this pedestal. But for now, we'll just leave them alone and they'll focus on the Super Bowl. As for the Bills, you have to take the recipe from the Chiefs and the Eagles, right? It is time to surround Josh Allen with some elite players, rather if it's in the draft, from scouting, or just going out there making trades, or just flat out signing guys in free agency. Now, we all know the cap space this year is going to be a lot better than it was this season because, of course, they have a lot of guys off the books. I'm pretty sure Von Miller is going to be off the books. His contract should be coming to an end. The only guy that you have, and you will have to pay guys such as Ed Oliver. I think Ed Oliver already has a contract extension. I know you already paid Dawkins. I think Ed Oliver's already paid. You have to pay Rousseau. But you have guys such as, not Gregory Rousseau, Razzle Douglas that you can move on from potentially, right? If he can't come back for a deal, you think that's right. You can move on from both the safeties. You're probably going to bring back Matt Milano, you know what I'm saying, on the contract extension, or if he's not already on one, I think he's definitely worth it, you know what I'm saying? But I think you have enough money going forward and the knowledge from what you're missing to add some elite players to this team offensively, but most importantly, defensively. They need some guys, okay? They don't need – I think they have some guys. They need some dogs. Okay, Ed Oliver's a dog, right? You know what I'm saying? Matt Milano's a dog, okay? I think Christian Benford is turning into a dog. Unfortunately, he was out this game after the first quarter, but, they need some more dogs. I think they have some guys, but they need some dogs, right? They need some elite pass rushers somehow, somewhere. They got to go out there and get them a number 1 wide receiver again, someone that can play within the system and not be a diva like a Stephon Diggs, quote unquote, was, right? They got to find more, and I think they got the right nucleus to get a job done. I don't think Sean McDermott should be moved on from. I think he's the perfect guy for the job, but they had to continue to add on to this team because you saw what a team that was constructed this year, how things can happen, right? The division's not getting any better. I mean, it is getting better from a standpoint, but you're still the top dog, right? You're still going to be able to be the division favorite going into next year, but you continue to add pieces. I think that's the big thing going forward for the Bills in this front office. You got to ask some more help for Josh, both offensively, most importantly, defense because he's already had the offensive help. He's had the Stephon Diggs, the Gabe Davises, right? This year is of course his best offensive line, of course his best running attack, but now you can add in potential T Higgins or so, whatever, right? Or you can draft uh trade up for Luther Burden, you know what I'm saying, or grab a Marcus Golden, you know what I'm saying, in the first round because he's getting a lot of buzz out of Texas, right? You can potentially go out there and sign a Milton Williams to play alongside Ed Oliver on your defensive line, right? You can go out there and bring in a Josh Sweat, right, or Hassan Reddick, you know what I'm saying, or sign a Travarius Ward, you know what I'm saying, to play opposite side of a Christian Benford. You can go out there and make a move for Javon Holland in free agency, right? You need some dogs or guys that can turn into dogs in your system. You know what I'm saying? Because I think they had the right nucleus, like I've already spoke about, but they need to add some better players. And we'll see what happens going forward. Hats off to them. Fantastic season when everyone counted them out, including myself. I think Josh Allen proved a lot of people wrong this year as well, saying that he needs this and all that. He does not need all that to get it done, but he does need a bit more to get it done. He doesn't need Stephon Diggs to get it done. He just needs a bit more, I would say. And also he needs to have his moments in those key times in the game as well. All right, moving on to the Eagles and Commanders. This was a total team domination by the Eagles. I want to start off by saying, I wouldn't say I've been critical of Jalen Hurts, but I've been realistic as possible. I felt as if leading up to this game, he had not had that defining playoff moment outside of the championship game. He unfortunately lost him, but he played lights out. And even his playoff games after that, they weren't really eye-popping, right? He would just get the job done, and that's okay. You can definitely be a game manager in the playoffs, and that's just perfectly fine, right? But, and of course it was against an inferior, right? Am I saying that right? Opponent, weaker opponent defensively, but he lit him up, right? He had over, I want to say, definitely over 230-plus passing yards. He was effective. He wasn't really that much of an effective runner, but he definitely lit them up in the passing department. Saquon Barkley had his time as well. I think Jalen Hurts had 2 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. Of course, there were tush pushes, but 5 total touchdowns. Fantastic game from Jalen Hurts, right? I think he was poised. He didn't turn the ball over per usual, and he was just confident. I also thought this was the best game called by Kellen Moore, right? I mean, first play of the game, we're checking out of a play. We see how the defensive line is shifting for the Commanders. Check out of it. A smart call by Hurts if that was a check. And you do a pitch to Saquon Barkley and the 60 yards to the crib. You know what I'm saying? After that, it was pretty much wraps because the possession before that, the Commanders put together a solid drive, but it was like 14 plays that resulted in, or it may have been 18 plays that resulted in the 3 points. I mean, after that, you kind of knew it was going to be over after that, right? Even when the Commanders had their fighting chances, you know what I'm saying? But, shout out to the Eagles defense. A.J. Brown had himself a good day as well. Dallas Goedert hooped, you know what I'm saying? And, the running attack was just very potent. Defensively, I mean, what more can we say about his defense? Vic Fangio as well as Steve Spags, they may be the 2 best defensive play calls in football. And, the thing out there is going around is that the key to the success on a team to get to a championship is that you need an offensive-minded head coach with the defensive coordinator that's failed as a head coach at other destinations, but as a great mind for the game on the defensive side, right? You see it with Spags and the Chiefs. You see it with Vic Fangio and the Eagles. Now you're more than likely going to see it this upcoming season with Dennis Allen and the Bears. They'll pair alongside Ben Johnson, right? So that is the key for success in football, right? Pair up a young or an offensive-minded head coach with an ex-head coach that's a brilliant defensive mind, but he just wasn't good enough to be a head coach. You know what I'm saying? And that is exactly what Vic Fangio, and even you seen with Vance Joseph, right? Vance Joseph and Sean Payton this year. There's a lot of examples of it, right? You know what I'm saying? But I just love what this defense is doing, man. They just got some dogs. This is the defense that has some dogs. Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, Darius Slay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the edge rushers and Josh Sweat. Nolan Smith is turning into something special, right? Even though he's a guy that's, I wasn't really too high out coming off the draft, but paired up alongside this defensive line with the defensive players they have, phenomenal. Quinyon Mitchell, rookie sensation. Cooper DeJean, rookie sensation. I mean, there's so many great players on this defense. It is really hard for a team to score. They have to work. I mean, I listen to the commentating by Brady, and even though Brady may be annoying at times this year, he has a first-time color analyst, play-by-play guy. He made some great points, man. In this game, if you actually paid attention to it, right, and not just had it as background music, The Commanders had to work for every single play. I mean, every single play they had to work for, bro. It just felt so hard, pause, for why the Commanders were not successful on offense, right? Or why they were struggling to get points. And it could be because of the Commanders' lack of skill position talent, right? And we'll get into that later. But that is one of the biggest takeaways I had, man. This Commanders team had to go so hard against this Eagles defense to just gain 5-10 yards. And I think Cliff Kingsbury tried his best to keep the game manageable. But I also felt that, the Commanders shot themselves in the foot, right? A team that had no turnovers in the playoffs entering this matchup finished with 3. Dami Brown had a turnover. I want to say, who else turned the ball over? Special teams. Nicholson had a turnover, right? I think someone else. I think Austin Eckler might have a turnover as well. Like they have 3 turnovers in pivotal moments, especially the Dami Brown one and also the Nicholson one because that was before halftime, and you pretty much were going into halftime being down potentially by a score, and it turned around. You were down double digits. You know what I'm saying? So those are defining moments for this Commanders team, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have the talent, and they'll fix that this offseason with the cap space they have, but they don't have the talent or the skill set to have that many issues in the game and be able to overcome them, right? And they got the doors beat off them, right? They got the doors beat off them. They got BTA, you know what they say, belt to ass, all that and more, right? It was bad. It was bad. And I thought Jaden Daniels played good enough. Well, I mean, he didn't play spectacular, I would say, but he definitely had himself a really good performance, right? You know, so I can't say it was all on him why they lost, but the Eagles just have too much. And unfortunately, I mean, this team had no business being here at the end of the day, right? They overachieved so much, and shout out to them for doing that, right? Going from 4-13 to 13-4, or however it was this year. I mean, phenomenal season for the Commanders, and it's only up from here for them. But they must address the needs this offseason, right? By attaining draft picks, right? Keeping the draft, hauling in some more talent, right? And it's gonna be harder to draft lower, of course, at what pick 30 or 29 in regards to drafting top 2. You know what I'm saying? So it takes better scouting. And Adam Peters, he comes from a franchise that's been well into the late 30s drafting under John Lynch and San Fran. So he knows all about that, right? This is how you can find your Fred Warners and so forth to replace Bobby Wagner potentially. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's going to be a big offseason for the Commanders. Got to get in that draft bag. Also spend that money in free agency. You have over $90 million to spend. I don't see why you're not a hot destination where players want to come join. I mean, you should be all in the ears of cornerbacks, safeties, defensive linemen, edge rushers, most importantly, receivers, T. Higgins, call up T. Higgins, get on the phone with his agent, let him know that, hey, we got Terry, we got T, we're going to draft another receiver as well, more than likely. You got to get on the phone with these guys. Also Cosme, hopefully he can get back healthy off that ACL injury. But I will say the best thing going forward, the Commanders, is they have a very bright future ahead of them. And I think they don't know if they'll be back here. I'll say that. I don't know if they'll be back here because it's easy to go from 4 wins to 12, 13 wins. But I definitely believe they can be a playoff team next year, potentially a wild card team, because right now the Eagles just got it on choke right now in the NFC East, I would say. I mean, of course, the NFC East is a toss-up, but the Eagles, I mean, as long as Saquon and AJ are around offensively and they still got that defense with the young guys, they'll be back leading the division next year, right? But the Commanders are definitely going to be in the thick of things in the NFC for many years to come, especially with JD5, the kid, the rookie sensation, leading them. And we'll see how he responds next year. And also, hopefully, Cliff Kingsbury does not take any other jobs and stays put and really continues to grow with JD5 and, put together a better offense next year that's more than just a compound college scheme. Let's try to expand on it and, dive deeper into the playbook. Excuse me. But yeah, man, those are my takeaways. And we have Eagles and Chiefs Super Bowl 59, and I'll get into that next podcast, right? Right now, I can't tell you who my winner is. I think both teams are going to play lights out. I think it's going to be a very fun, exciting offensive matchup. It could be like how it was last time, a potential shootout where, the last man standing with the ball wins, you know what I'm saying, a walk-off kick with Elliott or Buckner. So it's going to be a fun one. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that in the coming weeks. But before I go, I want to quickly highlight the head coaching carousel because I've been able to update that, man. And I'll dive deeper into that this week as more coaching announcements come along and all coordinators and staffing hires. But, man, everyone has hired a head coach but the New Orleans Saints. The Bears, of course, got Ben Johnson, their guy. The Jets got Aaron Glenn, their guy. The Jaguars were able to come across their guy and Liam Cohen after a crazy 24 to 48 hours with that. The Cowboys did an in program promotion with Brian Schottenheimer, and we'll get into that, you know what I'm saying, down the line. But I'm thinking it may not be that bad. I'm thinking that Dak Prescott had a lot of say so in that. If you look at Dak Prescott, the year that Brian Schottenheimer took over as the OC for the Cowboys, even though he was under Mike McCarthy, Dak had his best year, MVP type year, over 4,500 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and CeeDee Lamb had a career year as well, right? I mean, he finished with over 1,600 yards receiving. Offensive player of the year runner up, I want to say, or came in third place at least. Like, he was phenomenal that season as well when Brian Schottenheimer took over. So that's big. Who else? Raiders. I like the Raiders hire, man. I was really big on them potentially grabbing Mike McVrabel before the Patriots job opened up, and then you heard the Ben Johnson rumors, but I wasn't really going too much for that. I was thinking that they could go Pete Carroll. That's the only job I got right, by the way, on my predictions. I was thinking like they should go Pete Carroll, right? Especially with the new GM that Tom Brady is going to bring in. I think they need to bring in an older, more established, more seasoned head coach that can really just bring in some winning and foundation and culture, and potentially draft the franchise quarterback in the first or second round. Because we all know, Pete Carroll has an eye for quarterbacks, right? He grabbed Russell Wilson in the third round and replaced Russell Wilson with a journeyman in Geno Smith, right? And he see Geno Smith hooping right now, arguably playing better than Russell Wilson. So, and not arguably, definitely is. So I trust Pete Carroll with his quarterback evaluations, and I think he'd be really good for this team. And I think he'll be able to retain guys such as, Max Crosby from trying to, dig into that trade search, right? Trayvon Moehrig, right? Malcolm Coons, the guys that's pending for agents, they could definitely stay. And also, I think he could put together a really cohesive staff that can inherit his job potentially down the line when he fulfills his duties as the head coach 3 to 4 years from now. And you can have a potential, Dave Canales or Dan Quinn that's a part of his coaching tree, a part of the Raiders head coaching going forward when he's all said and done. So I love that hire. And then all is right now just Saints, right? And right now they've come down to I want to say the Dolphins defensive coordinator, forgot his name right now, but Mike Kafka is definitely the leader. I want to say the Giants offensive coordinator under Brian Dable. That could be something. And I've also been seeing Kellen Moore, right? We'll see if Kellen Moore is willing to take that job. And I don't think the Saints are any rush to hire a head coach because, no one wants to really want to be there. And Joe Brady already pulled his name out. So, we'll see what the Saints do. But, I think every team outside of the Cowboys, questionably, has won in attaining their head coach this cycle. And that's for the Jaguars, my Jaguars. I love the Liam Cohen pickup, man. I think it's going to be great for Trevor and his office going forward. I think they're going to have identity. And I really do hope that, I'm not going to really entertain how he became the head coach, man. We see players, change their mind on teams all the time in free agency. We see coaches throughout the NFL and college history change their mind on teams. We've seen Bill Parcells change his mind on Tampa Bay a couple times. You know what I'm saying? We've seen teams pull the rug under coaches and hire someone else. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens, right? It's just when the Jags do it, it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? So, but shout out to Shad Khan for getting the job done, man. I was really, really scared that he was going to just lame duck his way into hiring, Robert Saleh to pair with Trent Baalke. But he found out that Trent wasn't going to be the answer anymore after so many years of us telling, as fans, preaching this, screaming this from the mountaintops. But it is what it is, right? We finally got the job done. And the least I can say is, hey, he's trying. And I can't get mad at that, and why I continue to remain optimistic since the news dropped. So I think Liam Cohen will be good. We're ready to see how his staff shakes out. He'll have a presser today for you Jaguars fan listening at 3:30 p.m. on Monday. So definitely tuning into that. I would if you're a Jags fan, and we'll see what go from there. But I think I'm about to do it, man. It was really, really good playoff football this week. Regardless of one blowout in a close game, I thought, it was good football on both sides, NFC and AFC. I would like to say one thing before this podcast ends, dog. I'll just say this. Until proven otherwise, we can have the Josh Allens, the Herberts, the Strouds, the Lamar Jacksons, and so on and so forth in the AFC. But until something changes, man, Patrick Mahomes is the dog out there, man. He's a king. You can have your debates about, I'm saying, what it takes to get to a championship. I don't think anybody will understand what it takes until they get past 15. You can say Joe Burrow did it, but Joe Burrow didn't complete the mission. And he wasn't able to even attempt the mission this year. you got to put some respect on 15 out there in Kansas City, man. Regardless of how it may look, regardless of how it may sound, regardless of what he's already achieved in comparisons to, the considered GOAT and Tom Brady. But I think Patrick Mahomes has accomplished some things we've never seen before at this level as a quarterback in this league. And I think he's already the best quarterback to ever play this game from a skill standpoint, and also now more than likely from an accomplishment standpoint, especially if he grabs his third championship and if he, fourth championship before 30 years of age. That's crazy. And who knows? It might be a long time before they capture another one. But if he is able to submit or to finish this three-peat, man, one of one. That's all I can say, man. So, but anyways, I think that'll do it. Thank y'all so much for tapping in. Once again, if you like this podcast, this little quick recap, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on other platforms, Chill Takes _ on Twitter, Chill Takes on Instagram, TikTok as well. And also, if you're listening to on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you like this show and rate it 5 stars and comment down below on any comment section you can to give me your opinions on what happened in the NFL this past week. But anyways, man, until next time, y'all take care of yourselves. Stay blessed. Stay warm out there if you're in the cold areas. And that is a wrap.